All right, welcome to our very first lesson in the AI for Students series. We're going to jump right into the free tools you can start using today. But here's the thing, to really get good with them to become a power user, you first need to understand how they actually, think. So let's pull back that curtain. I'm willing to bet you use tools like ChatGPT and Gemini all the time, for essays, for coding, maybe just to brainstorm ideas. But have you ever stopped and wondered, what is actually happening inside that little chat window? How does it come up with those incredibly human-sounding answers? That's the secret we're going to unlock today. So here's what we're going to cover. First, we'll look at your AI's secret brain. Then, we'll get into the engine that powers it all. That's machine learning. After that, you'll meet the transformer, which is the huge breakthrough that changed everything. We'll also see why not all AIs are created equal. And finally, wrap it all up with why knowing this stuff makes you a way smarter user. All right, let's dive right into our first section, your AI's secret brain. The goal here is pretty simple, to help you move from being someone who just types things into a savvy operator who actually gets what's happening behind the scenes. It's time to stop thinking of this as just a magic box. Because here's the big secret. It's not magic, not even a little bit. The incredible things that tools like ChatGPT, Gemini, and Claude do, it's all because of a very specific and very powerful process called machine learning. At their heart, they are just really, really good learning machines. So if these tools are learning machines, what's the engine that makes them go? Well, that brings us right to section 2, the machine learning engine. This is the real power behind that wow moment you get when it spits out a perfect answer. So what is machine learning really? Well, way back in 1959, a pioneer named Arthur Samuel gave a great definition. He said it gives computers the ability to learn without someone having to program every single rule. Think of it like training a guide dog. You don't give the dog a giant book of if-then rules for every possible situation, right? No, you train it through experience, and it learns to make good decisions on its own. That's pretty much what we're doing with these AI models, just with a whole lot more data. So where does machine learning fit into the bigger picture? I love this analogy of the Russian dolls. Imagine the biggest doll is computer science. You open it up, and inside you find data science. Open that one, and you've got the whole field of artificial intelligence, or AI. And then at the very core, the smallest doll, that's machine learning. It's a specialized part of a much bigger field. And hey, if Russian dolls aren't your thing, a Venn diagram shows the same idea. All machine learning is a form of AI, but not all AI uses machine learning. It's a specific, powerful technique we use to create artificial intelligence. Now for section 3. And honestly, this is where things get really interesting. It's time to meet the transformer. See, back in 2017, some researchers published a paper with a kind of epic title, "Attention is all you need." And it introduced this new architecture that just completely changed the game. This is the reason the tools you use today are so incredibly powerful. So, in plain English, what on earth is a transformer? Well, think of it this way. Older AI models had to read a sentence word by word by word. It was slow, and they'd often forget the beginning of the sentence by the time they got to the end. A transformer, though, can look at the entire paragraph all at once. And it uses this amazing thing called attention to figure out which words are most important to each other, which lets it understand context over really long conversations. So how does it actually work? You can think of it like a 3-step dance. First, it takes all the words and turns them into numbers, fancy numbers that capture their meaning. Second, it adds a little tag that notes the word order so it knows man bites dog is very different from dog bites man. And third, here's the real magic, self-attention. For any single word, the model looks back at every other word to figure out the context. This is how, in a sentence like, "The robot picked up the ball because it was light," the model knows it refers to the ball, not the robot. Wild, right? This self-attention thing, it's the absolute secret sauce. It's the reason you can have a long, winding conversation with ChatGPT, and it can still remember something you mentioned 5 prompts ago. It's constantly looking back at the entire context to figure out what it should say next. Okay, let's zoom out for a second in section 4. It's really important to know that the AI you're using, these big language models, is just one type of AI. There are other ways to build intelligent systems, and knowing the difference is super, super helpful. So you've got 2 main flavors here. First is rule-based AI. Think of it like a simple flowchart. If a user says hello, then respond with hi. It's totally predictable, but it's also really rigid. The AI we're talking about, these large language models, or LLMs, they're totally different. They learn patterns from just enormous amounts of text, which makes them flexible, creative, and aware of context. And this next distinction is super important to get. It's the difference between narrow AI and general AI. Here's the key takeaway. Every single AI that exists today, Siri, Alexa, Gemini, you name it, is narrow AI. It's designed and trained to do a specific task, even if that task is very broad, like understanding language. General AI is the stuff of movies, a machine with human-like consciousness that could learn anything. And I want to be crystal clear, it does not exist yet. Okay, we've gone through a lot of theory. Let's bring it all home and talk about the most important part. Why does any of this actually matter to you? Well, understanding this stuff is what takes you from being a passive user to a genuine power user. Knowing how the engine works helps you drive the car so much better. You'll understand its limits, like why it sometimes just makes stuff up, what we call hallucinating. You'll be able to write way better prompts because you know you need to feed its attention mechanism the right context. You'll stop just copying and pasting answers because you know it's giving you a prediction, not a fact. And you'll know how to fix things when you get a weird or confusing answer. So I want you to put this into practice immediately. Next time you open an AI, follow these 3 steps. 1, before you hit enter, just pause and think, what background info does this machine need? 2, when you get an answer, ask yourself, is this a real verified fact, or is it just the most statistically likely string of words? And 3, if it gets confused, don't just give up. Try rephrasing your question to give its attention mechanism a clearer target. And that brings us to the single biggest mistake I see students make. They treat these AIs like a flawless search engine or a calculator. They're not. They are brilliant pattern matching machines built to predict the next best word. They're not by default fact checkers. All right, time to get your hands dirty with a quick little experiment. Go ahead and open your favorite free AI tool. ChatGPT, Gemini, doesn't matter. First, ask it a straightforward factual question, something like, what is the capital of Australia? Then ask it something creative and contextual, like write a short poem about that capital city, but do it in the style of Emily Dickinson. Just notice the difference, see how it shifts from simply retrieving a fact to generating a completely new pattern based on the context you provided. It's a fantastic way to see this stuff in action. So I want to leave you with this question. You now have a peek inside the secret brain of these amazing tools. You have an idea of how they think. So the real question for you isn't just what you'll get them to do, it's what new things can you create now that you know how to speak their language. And that's a wrap for this one. In our next lesson, we're going to build directly on everything we've learned today as we dive into the art and science of prompt engineering. Basically how to talk to these machines to get exactly what you want every single time. I'll see you then.